Welcome back. This is WBAI. Call in. You can get the DVD of this special that we're doing on 9/11 with Carol Tannenbaum. Also, my other books, No More Menopause, No More Hysterectomies, and the special that I'm planning for October 30th workshop. I'm certainly going to invite Carol to come, and because there's more to be told and more work to be done. We'll talk about that. So Carol, you're down and you're out and you're moving. Where were you when your building collapsed?
I was about 2 blocks north.
So did you get the big push of the debris, or was that did that not go 2 blocks? How bad was it?
Surprisingly, the debris did not blow in my direction. I was very fortunate in escaping that debris. It did not blow in the direction that I was in.
So did the earth rumble? Did you feel it on your feet? Or was it just happened so fast that you couldn't even tell it was happening?
I felt it in my head. It felt like a train going through my head. I can't even imagine how many decibels it was, but it was just an incredibly loud rumbling that felt like it was right inside my head.
Did you worry about your brother when that happened?
Yes. I can't remember the sequence right now of when I was interviewed, but I had mentioned to the reporter that my brother was down there taking pictures. And as the building was coming down, she came running back to me, as hysterical as I was, your brother. And I just didn't know what to do. I certainly was not going to go back there. I was just praying that my brother's survival instincts kicked in, because he's been in some very hair-raising international incidents. Fortunately, he survived. I ultimately got my way to his loft in Tribeca, and there was no way to contact him because there was no phone service. So I just waited, looked out the window, watched the TV, and ultimately he showed up.
So did the cell phones go down too during that time period?
Yes. I guess the tower on top of the World Trade Center had some impact on the cell phones as well as the regular phones.
So what did triage tell you? You got down, and what was triage? What was the triage on the plaza?
There were evidently some medical people. There were some people who were actually in their scrubs. I don't know who they were or where they came from. It was probably just a very ad hoc thing. It didn't seem like anything organized to me. There were no ambulances there. There were just people out in the street helping other people.
This is a very different picture than like many of the media presentations that I've been listening to. So I'm so glad we're doing this, because it really comes down to people helping people.
Absolutely.
You know, and learning from this tragedy.
I have always had this very strange feeling since 9/11 that the evacuees and survivors are sort of an invisible group of people. I was talking to somebody earlier today about survivor's guilt, which I don't feel, and he was a little puzzled as to why people would feel that they should just count their blessings that they were spared and that they're alive. But in a way, I think probably we don't want the recognition because the focus should be on the families who lost people. But there were so many good things that people did, and they don't get the recognition for it, but they know they did it.
So like you were carrying how you're carrying a man on your arms and shoulders with your asthma over who's having a heart attack. And
Well, an opportunity was presented to me.
all right, so we now have you down, you're through the triage, you're out, and then you go to your brothers. So it's like, what were your survival skills? Why did you have them? What were they from? Where'd you get them? And can you describe them?
Well, I've told people that I've had a number of up-close and personal threats to my life. I lived in New York for about 10 years, and even prior to that, I've lived somewhat of a risky life. I've put myself out there. I've never been a shrinking violet. I've gotten into some scary situations, and without going into detail, I was actually abducted by gunpoint many, many years ago. So I made a conscious decision that I could either knuckle under, be crushed under these things that have happened to me, or learn from them. And I feel that my entire life I have tried to be a student and to constantly learn from whatever is going on in my life and create my learning experiences. So I decided to become street smart.
Street smart. So when you were coming down the stairway, were you getting, visions of these experiences in the past?
Not at all.
No, okay. So you were just...
It was a very visceral thing that got me out in the first place. And another thing that I've learned from my teacher, Dr. Gerald Epstein, and he deserves a lot of credit for wherever I am today, about the difference between a real emergency and an imagined emergency. And I don't know how conscious that was in my mind, but in a real emergency, people generally do the right thing. Something kicks in. If you're in a boat that's going down, you better the heck jump out and swim. It was that kind of emergency, as opposed to an imagined emergency, which are those silly things that make us very neurotic and anxious and worried about the future and who's going to break into my apartment and on and on and on. So generally, in a real emergency, people do the right thing to survive. And I think that has been so embedded in me because I've literally had to survive a number of incidents I've been through.
Okay, so you're tough street girl, sort of. You're listening to Carol Tannenbaum, 9/11 special, WBAI. We'll be right back. Call in, support this show, support Carol and her survival and the changes that we all need to do in the future. We're going to be talking about what did we learn, what can we do with all of this in the future. We'll be right back.